All right, yeah. Hey, good morning, everyone. Here it'd be kind of a weekly call here. I get to do it again, kind of back to back, um, as I'm pretty excited here to invite a special guest here from the Archive Protocol. Aaron, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. I'm Aaron from Archive Protocol. Some people might know us from our previous product, APY Vision. We are a performance dashboard for on-chain yield opportunities. And we've been around since DeFi summer 2021, around there. And we've kind of expanded our scope from just being an LP tool to any source of on-chain yield. So now we're branching out into things like staking, lending and borrowing. And so Rocket Pool feels like a natural fit. We've already started building some integrations for liquid Rocket Pool ETH. We've built an integration for ETH staking validators, and now we're kind of exploring what else we might be able to do with Rocket Pool here.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, maybe tell us maybe a little bit more of the protocol. It's a new one on me, and I don't know much about it. Maybe give us a little bit more background about how the protocol came to an existence, and if you can, a little bit expand on how it's integrating Rocket Pool.
Sure. So our first product, APY Vision, was a kind of a consumer-facing website with a small team. We had to do all the integrations ourselves. So the kind of the reasoning behind going to the protocol level was we wanted to create a platform where we could open up um, development and integrations to kind of third-party developers and make it so that if a protocol wanted their data indexed and have all these cool historical stats that we can provide, that a third-party developer could come in and do that. So we wanted to create a platform versus just kind of a consumer-facing application. So that's kind of where our Archive protocol was born out of. And then, so part of that was we wanted to expand our coverage from, like, we were primarily concentrated on DEX LPs. So we were one of the first projects that would show you your impermanent loss on like a Uniswap V2 position. But now we're trying to expand and standardize this kind of historical data that we collect and index so that it can be applied to any source of on-chain yield, which includes validators, all these different lend and borrow protocols, DEXs as well, any kind of staking. So that's kind of the reasoning for moving from just kind of the APY Vision app to Archive Protocol. Archive Protocol has a front end that we use for testing, basically. But the idea is we want to be more of like a data provider. So somebody could take our API, take the historical data that we've indexed, and then use it in their applications. So that's kind of the shift from kind of this kind of B2C kind of more to like a B2 protocol or something like along those lines.
Yeah, got it. And so it's let me see if I understand it. It's periodically for a number of the protocols that you're tracking. It's periodically collecting some data metrics of it over time, saving that data, and then producing it in some type of program interface so that other protocols that want to query that historical data can go ahead and do so to generate reports on past performance. Is that a good summary?
Correct. And what makes us a little different from some of the other products out there is we do a full historical picture. So it's not just like a debank that gives you a present snapshot. We go back in time and then tell you everything for the history of the position, so you can actually calculate your true yield based on going back in time and getting all that index data.
Oh, interesting. And now, what's the integration with Rocket Pool? Are you tracking like rETH or the RPL token, or is there further integrations with Rocket Pool in terms of its nodes that are staking?
Right now, it's just the liquid rETH, and I've gave some screenshots of our dashboard to Nick, so he can post those in the chat or something. But basically, the idea is it's this kind of comprehensive dashboard that gives you like a full picture of your performance. You could use that for reporting. You could use that for just kind of performance monitoring, just to kind of see how your positions are doing. But yeah, that's kind of what makes us different than a lot of other tools is that we give you that full historical picture.
Oh, interesting. And then what type of customers would use your data? Is it individuals or is it other protocols or companies?
So previously we geared towards the retail users, but now we're more interested in doing this indexing, which is very resource intensive and complex. That most DeFi protocols don't want to kind of do that. They want to focus on more of the smart contract side of things. So we feel like we can help take some of that load off. And then our ideal customer would be like a DeFi protocol that wants to have more enriched data on a dashboard or something that shows their users their true APYs or their true yield. So that way they can, stay on the platform when they see what they're earning.
And then maybe I don't know the correct name for them. I was going to call them oracles, but I don't know if they're actually, broadcasting or recording the information. But the individuals or the computers that actually record the data in your indices, are those just centralized there with the archive protocol, or is that something that individuals can be oracles and record that information for your protocol?
Yeah, so the way it kind of works now is that we use a lot of like subgraphs and we index the data and cache it. But the protocol side of things is that we're trying to envision a system kind of similar to the graph where you have different roles where people they could build integrations or they could supply as like uh, kind of like a verifier, that sort of thing. We're not quite that far along on the roadmap right now, but that's kind of where we're headed. So if you know how the graph token works and how their system works, it's very much inspired by that kind of setup.
Oh, interesting. And then, where do you see the further integrations going with RPL? Is it mainly just to provide the data on the liquid staking token, or do you see further integrations with Rocket Pool somewhere down the roadmap?
Yeah, so right now we do have the liquid staking integration. It's on our application. You can access that right now. But one of the conversations we've been having is possibly trying to build an integration for the Rocket Pool validators themselves, because it's a somewhat complex system to try and track your yields. Um, so we were thinking that maybe we could build something along those lines, but we're talking to the grant committee and seeing if there's any way to fund that development and that sort of thing.
Excellent. And then, are there any other things that we haven't yet talked about with regards to the archive protocol that you'd feel it's important for either liquid staking token holders of the rETH token to know about, or our node operators to know about?
Um, I think that kind of covers the basics, but I would like to put an offer out that if anyone's interested in getting whitelisted to get beta access, because we're still in beta, I can issue an NFT to anyone that throws a wallet address out there, and they can have access to the platform and give it a test run.
Yeah, and what does that give them access to? Is that to the aggregated indices and data feeds?
So right now everything is on a kind of a user account basis, so it's wallet based metrics. So it's your own personal wallet. Um, so there's not aggregate data per se, but access to the platform will give you access to all the protocols we've integrated so far. There's probably about a dozen or 15 right now, and we're adding more all the time. So yeah, it's just anything you're doing on chain that generates yield. We have integrations for things like Uniswap v3, Aave, Maker, some vault strategies. So there's about 15 or 20. If you're doing anything other than Rocket Pool right now, you could check out. But we do have the rETH integration in there. So anyone that's trying to track their rETH yield, they could use our platform right now and check that out.
And if somebody wanted to participate in that beta, how can they get a hold of you to express their interest?
I'm not sure the best way to collect that data, but if anyone wants to ping me on Telegram, I can share my Telegram.
Yeah, please. And if they wanted to find more about the archive protocol, what's the best way to get some more information about it? And do you guys keep a Discord, or what's the main way to interact with the archive team?
Right now, just go to the archive protocol .com. And then you'll see our landing page there. We have all our contact info up there as well. We have a form that if you're interested in the API, you can fill out the form, then we can have a conversation about that. Our ideal kind of user is somebody that would want to use the API, so a developer that's kind of maybe building a community tool or a dashboard or something like that. But where should I post any links or my Telegram or anything like that?
Yeah, probably the best channel to post that in, just off the top of my head, is probably the trading channel. If you post it in there, people listening to this call and recording can go back and find it. What's your Discord handle?
Discord archive_intern. I just posted in the trading channel, so you should be able to find me there. So you can ping me there on Telegram if you have any interest in kind of checking more of this out.
Yeah, perfect. Well, excellent. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today's call for a little bit and to learn a little bit more about the archive protocol. And any other things that you feel is important for the Rocket Pool community to know before we move on to the rest of today's community call?
No, I think that's it. Just happy to be involved and get in touch with the community and just kind of I'd love to get a sense of if the community is really looking for these kind of in-depth historical, yield metrics, because that's our bread and butter. We're always trying to figure out who wants it.
Yeah, it's an excellent question you ask, and I certainly do throw that out there for trading in the community. I know there's a number of active developers in the community, so it's probably a good place to come and kind of throw those lines in the water and see if anybody bites on it.
Excellent.
All right. Well, excellent having you here today. Feel free to stay on for the rest of it. But I do understand if your time commitment has you moving on to other places. But we'll now go ahead and we'll transition to the Rocket Pool side of the community call. And I'm joined today looks like by both Langers and Mav here. But Langers, welcome.
Buenos dias, amigo.
Yeah, good day to you as well too here. Today we also have Mav has produced a biweekly that literally just came out, I think, less than an hour ago. So a couple of things we could do here is maybe we'll start off here, I guess, with perhaps maybe the smart node section, and then we'll go quickly into the R&D section of the biweekly. But Langers, I guess I got rugged a little bit here. I was expecting a V2 to come out, but we've got probably from Fornax maybe our last version of V1. But any thoughts and comments on the latest release of the smart node client here?
Yeah, so maybe that's in my head. It was definitely a V1 release. We are putting out we are getting ready probably the last beta release of V2. So I've been doing a heap of testing the last kind of 2 weeks or so, going through pretty much everything in V2 to try to break it. There's still a few little outstanding tests because I found a couple of issues that we're just patching up. But no, the testing's gone pretty well actually. So we should be ready for this kind of like last beta to be released so that we can transition to V2. And that's been kind of like, if I'm honest, V2 has been mostly my top priority to try to get that out the door, because although we've kind of pretty much feature frozen V1 now, it's kind of it's certainly, to maintain 2 code bases is not trivial. So we need to make sure that we can migrate to V2 and it frees up the guys to just focus on V2 going forward. So that's what I've kind of been prioritizing the last couple of weeks to get through that testing.
Yeah, excellent. It's great to hear that, and I'm looking very much forward, I think, to having V2 come out of beta, and it'd be really neat to see it launch. And yeah, I certainly can understand the need or the challenge of trying to maintain two different code bases with any updates or or changes. It's going to be really nice to just get down to one branch, I suppose, on the GitHub here.
Yeah, exactly. It can you know, it takes a lot of you have to kind of make sure that you make the changes in two different places, all of that sort of thing, and it's not, I don't say error prone because the guys are very good, but you know, it's something. It's definitely something that we need to kind of get sorted.
Yeah, excellent. The other section here on R&D talked a little bit about the hotfix audit is commencing, I think, next week, the week coming up here. You want to talk a little bit about that, as well as it's mentioned in there that some of the research on the early Saturn tokenomics, the early Saturn design and the tokenomics design. Maybe can you share with us all here the latest from the team about the hotfix and then the tokenomics Saturn design?
Yeah, cool, awesome. So, so the hotfix, as I said, all the code was done, and we just wanted to hand it over to auditors for auditing. Sigma Prime are locked in to start next week, so that will that's amazing. That's going to be kicking off very soon. I think they said they'll need probably most of next week to go over it. So we're kind of putting together a bit of a rough timeline for the hotfix now. And so I'll try to put some of that information out. I might leave off like exactly when we're going to be releasing. Anyway, well, I'll see what I can do. Some of it depends a little bit on how long the testing takes. Because obviously at the moment it needs to still go on still needs to go kind of like on a devnet and testnet. So we'll sort that out over the next week or so to go through that testing internally while it's being kind of audited, and then but then it'll obviously need to go to the testnet, and then eventually kind of mainnet launch and all of that sort of thing. So there's a little bit of timeline to get that hotfix out there. But as I said, the audits start next week. They'll probably need about a week, and then there's like another week of fixed checks and or a few days of fixed checks and or fixes and fixed checks, just in case there's anything that comes up out of the audit. And then it's devnet, testnet, launch. Essentially, that's kind of like the milestones, as it were.
Excellent. And then it sounds like you're going to try to do an ETA projection as to when those milestones hit: devnet, testnet, mainnet.
Yep, that's it. So now that we've got the audit locked in, it's a lot easier to kind of like plan that out. So I'll kind of plan that out. I need to do like a little bit of a test plan to know how long the testing will kind of like take. And then, yeah, I should be able to lay out kind of like a timeline for when the hotfix is actually going to be live. Something that's kind of like related to that is this RPIP 62, which is the tokenomics prelude. That is obviously, it has a sentiment vote at the moment, and will be going to governance at some point. So the hotfix has something in there that the RPIP 62 is reliant on. But obviously, RPIP 62, there's a few little bits and pieces that need to be done, or some development work needs to be done on RPIP 62 around the rewards tree and that sort of thing anyway. But we'll see how that goes when it goes through governance. So that's kind of like the immediate term. They're kind of like, so it's potentially RPIP 62, depending on whether how that goes through governance. And then, but we have been working on Saturn. So Kane has been working on the like the proof verifier. So this is using the beacon chain state root, and what it does is it enabled us to write these kind of these proofs that are used within kind of the life cycle of a node operator. So things like when you stake, there's a new proof that I'm trying to figure out how deep to go. But basically, there is a new proof when you stake, when you do the stake transaction, and what that does is it actually means that you are proving that your withdrawal credentials are set to the right value using this beacon chain state proof. And what that actually means is there's no need for the ODAO to do the scrub check anymore. There is still kind of like a period of time that you have to wait, but that's just to make sure that that's just an Ethereum constraint, but it means that the ODAO no longer has to do the scrub check. And then there's a few proofs to do with withdrawing and that sort of thing, and that's kind of like the megapool concept. This is how we can kind of do multiple validators on one withdrawal credential or one megapool contract. So that all uses that stuff, and so Kane's done some really great work on that. I'd probably say he's basically finished the verifier, and he's been integrating that into those into the megapool contract to do those things that we want it to do. And so Fornax has been working on the deposit kind of mechanism and some of the megapool stuff as well, and that's been going really well. So yeah, it's actually coming along really well. We're making some good progress on Saturn.
Oh wow, there's lots of alpha in that statement from you here. Maybe if we can just circle back on a couple of things. Maybe if we back up all the way to the audits just for a second. What firm is doing the audits, and when in that process of DevNet, testnet, mainnet do you expect to modify the Immunify bounty?
Modify the Immunify bounty.
Yeah, to include the hotfix code as part of the eligibility.
Right. Yes. Right. Gotcha. I know what you mean now. So usually we do that once we get the reports back. So that should be in a couple of weeks' time. So I would imagine that so at the moment it's Sigma Prime is auditing it. And we do have another auditor that is taking a look at it. They're mainly focusing on, but that's because I'm trying to think. Yeah, I can. I'm pretty sure I can say that anyway. They submitted two of the bug bounties against the on-chain voting system. So they've kindly said that they will do basically a fix check for that stuff as well. So we're doing basically it's Sigma Prime and this other kind of like auditor who's going to be doing the fix checks on some of this on some of the stuff.
Oh, that's really great news there, and I'm guessing at some point once the hotfix is deployed, you'll actually kind of share the bounty finding and the if they want to be known, the discoverer or that firm that discovered the bug.
Yeah, if they allow me to, yes. I haven't spoken to them about whether they want that disclosure or not. I mean, I can do. I'll ask them, and then we'll see.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they if they are willing, and once it's safe to disclose it, it would be really educational to understand that in there.
Yeah, all of the ones, all of the ones they've raised are safe to disclose, mainly because the on-chain voting system's not on yet. I mean, to be honest, the impacts, although 2 of them we paid out as high at the time, it was because they could, you could steal the proposer's bond essentially, and the way that our bug bounty was written at the time, any stealing of funds was basically a high, even though it was actually, you know, relatively small kind of amount, although it is stealing of funds. So basically, what was my point there? My point was, it was paid out as a high.
You were saying you paid out the high bounty, but you found out later that
the impact was actually quite small, in the sense that one of them was a grief, which definitely needed to be patched before we kind of like turned the on-chain system on, but it was kind of like a grief. The other ones were kind of like stealing a proposer's bond, although the impact would have been small if we had it like things turned on. The impact would have been small, but you know, obviously we're glad that we've caught those now. So those 2 were very, very good submissions. So the auditor that and all of those bugs were really good spots. So so I'm glad that we could incorporate those in this hotfix, and kind of get those out, and then eventually we can, once this hotfix is out, actually the other thing we need to do is turn the on-chain voting system on, and we can then do you know, actually have the voting system turned on.
And in your timing, you don't intend to activate the on-chain voting system until after the hotfix is deployed on mainnet, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, and then back to your kind of previous monologue here for a second. You'd mentioned RPIP 62, which I believe is the Saturn Zero ETH only mini pools, and you made mention that there's some inner references to the hotfix. Can you expand upon that a little bit more and tell us, you know, what that is, and will the hotfix include Saturn Zero and ETH only mini pools, or will those be separate from the hotfix?
No, it doesn't include. It doesn't include RPIP 62. RPIP 62 is its own kind of like governance thing, and will be you know, done via that. The RPIP, the hotfix is its own governance thing as well. I literally did the RPIP yesterday. We're just kind of going through. I'm just having it kind of like reviewed by the RPIP editors, and then we'll kind of get that up and on the DAO forum for sentiment vote and all of that sort of thing. There are 2 elements in the hotfix though that relate to RPIP 62, and that is there is a, so what we noticed, so the community kind of like tested out some of the RPIP 62 stuff on testnet and set the minimum RPL stake to 0. The contracts actually revert. So that's not ideal anyway. We don't want that to happen anyway. So we fixed that so that if you set it to 0, then it doesn't revert. It actually behaves how it's supposed to behave. So that's kind of like one thing. The other thing is, if RPIP 62 was to go forward, then and you set the minimum RPL stake to 0, that actually stops a key kind of like security feature. So it's the scrub penalty. So if somebody tries to set their withdrawal credentials to another address and then deposit through Rocket Pool, the ODAO currently, what they do is they vote to scrub that mini pool because they can detect that their withdrawal credentials are wrong. So they scrub, and at the moment it's an RPL penalty. And if there is no RPL to slash, then essentially there's that, that feature doesn't work. So what we've done is to have the option of doing RPIP 62, whether it goes ahead or not, where to have the option to do that. What we've done is changed the scrub penalty from an RPL penalty to an ETH penalty. So essentially, it doesn't penalize the RPL, but it actually penalizes the ETH instead. That was quite a relatively a small change, and to be honest, from a protocol perspective, it's actually kind of like a moot point anyway, because in Saturn there is no scrub check. There is no scrub penalty in Saturn anyway. So at some point we're going to remove that scrub penalty. There's not much point. It doesn't matter whether it's an RPL or an ETH one. So that's, from a protocol perspective, it doesn't really matter. The penalty is the same. It's the same amount of RPL or ETH. From a protocol perspective, it doesn't really make much difference. So they're the elements that are included in that.
Oh, got it. So they're included in the hotfix, independent of RPIP 62, the Saturn Zero,
Yes.
or the ETH only mini pools. But Saturn Zero and ETH only mini pools, if voted in by the PDAO, those two fixes are going to be kind of dependencies for Saturn Zero. So it kind of gives them a green line in a way to go forward.
It means that we have the option to do it. I'm careful of my wording.
Yeah.
It doesn't give them the green light. But it gives them the option to do it, to go forward.
Yeah, a much better phrase than what I shared. Now let me talk a little bit. You mentioned that Kane is working on, or is almost finished, or is very proud of the work he's done on the verifier that would use the beacon state root as part of a proofing system to remove the scrub check by the ODAO. And you mentioned that there's still a delay period. Can you expand upon that and just explain why the delay period? Is that part of just waiting for the proposal, the deposit data to show up on the beacon chain, or why the delay? And in this proving, is it a fraud proof where somebody in the community has to post a disproof of the fraud, or maybe explain this a little bit more?
Yeah, cool. No, it's actually, so it's a state proof. So to build the state proof, what needs to happen is I'll break it down a little bit. So when you deposit into the beacon chain, you deposit into the beacon chain contract, which is on the execution, which is in the kind of like execution side, right? And the consensus side eventually kind of picks up that deposit and puts it into its own kind of like database, right? And it waits a little bit because there's several reasons, but I think one of the main reason is because of like forks and that sort of thing. It has a follow distance, so there's a certain amount of time it has to wait to make sure that there's not gonna the chain's not gonna fork, and that the state of the chain is how it should be. And so I think they wait that follow distance, and then they incorporate that into the consensus side state, which means that we can then build a proof. So the beacon chain state proof stuff is all on this consensus side, and so we can then build a proof to say within this database, within this database, there is this element that says that, sorry, this validator has this withdrawal credential. And so we can write this proof that proves that, or at least the smart node. The smart node will build this proof to say that my validator has deposited and it has these withdrawal credentials, and those withdrawal credentials match the implicit is that it matches the mini pool or mega pool address, and then it can then essentially post that to the smart contracts, and then the smart contract can then take that proof and verify that proof using the beacon state root to make sure that what they've said is correct. If they can verify it, then it means that we know it's true, and that you can do the stake. So there'll be like a deposit transaction, and then they'll have to wait this kind of set amount of time, this like follow distance, and then but as soon as the state is incorporated on the consensus side, the smart node will be able to build that state proof and then submit that to the smart contracts. So really, it's like the optimal. It's as fast as you can deposit. Really, at the moment, we have to have this like set. I think it's like 12 hours or something, just to make sure that the ODAO can safely scrub them. Whereas it could be a lot shorter than that, if depending on what how long this follow distance is and that sort of stuff.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, no, that's really impressive. I'd love to kind of understand, maybe from Kane in a presentation or something, how this actually works in there, but really good. So once the node operator has deposited, allowed that follow distance to catch up, and then they continue to interact with the smart contract, the megapool smart contract, there's really it's not like an optimistic proof where others have to wait for a challenge period to challenge it. It will only interact with the contract if it's proven valid, right? Is it such that then once the node operator submits the proof, then either the proof is proven true or not? If it's true, then I guess it allows it to go. It's got assurances that the withdrawal credential indeed matches the megapool contract.
Yes. So yes, it's either true or not. And the great thing about it is you can't build a proof that's true if it's not actually true. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's the same thing. We know it's true. Because otherwise they wouldn't be able to build the proof to be able to submit it. So that's yeah. And as you said, there is no. It's not optimistic. It's actually a state proof. So it has that kind of like verifiability. There's no need for like a challenge period or anything like that, because we know it's true because they can't build it otherwise.
Okay, excellent. And then that work is that, maybe one last question here on Saturn is, so the work on this verifier, what are you thinking now? Let's think optimistically for a second regarding RPIP 62, which is Saturn 0. If Saturn 0 is approved, does this verifier, does that become part of Saturn 0, or is this really Saturn 1? Like where does it fit in the sequence of Saturn releases?
It's Saturn 1. I don't think the Saturn 0 doesn't really need it. Yeah, it doesn't really need it necessarily. There's stuff. Yeah, it doesn't really need it. It's definitely a Saturn 1 thing, because it's going to be used in this scrub check part. It's going to be used for withdrawals and that sort of thing for mega pools. They're kind of like the key areas where we'll be using them in Saturn 1. Later on though, it may well be very useful for making the ODAO duties more robust. So For example, this is just off the top of my head right now. I have to kind of like we need to work through it, but it could lay the groundwork for some of these reducing of the ODAL duties, because it will allow us to make those processes more verifiable. I don't think we can do it in a way that means that it's kind of like a state proof where they can only submit the right value. I don't think we can do it that way. We'll have to kind of like go through it. That would be the ideal, is that the ODAL can only submit the right value. But things like, the reward tree stuff, I think that's far too complicated for that stuff. So what's more likely is that some of those things will be like basically like the challenge period on the on-chain voting, where you'll have it be basically done optimistically. They'll submit the value, but then there'll be some challenge period where verifiers or some sort of verifier role can verify that it's actually correct, and then prove that it's not. So that that's something that could be useful going forward. I think it's a really good piece of infrastructure, and it does open up the design surface quite a lot.
Okay, fascinating. And then before we leave the R&D section here, are there any other things, Langers, from your kind of perspective as the GM that you'd like to share with the community at this time?
No, I think that's definitely the stuff on my kind of like a immediate list at the moment. We're just kind of like trying to move Saturn as long as we, along as much as we can. Keep an eye on what's going on with the ETH only stuff. And then the immediate stuff is this hotfix thing, which we're kind of like working through as well. So there's quite a lot going on, but there's quite a good roadmap ahead of us, I think.
Okay, perfect. Well, then I'll move us along through the biweekly update here. There's a couple of other topics here in the governance section. There was a series of DAO reports that were published this week. Overall, the protocol DAO, or the PDAO, had a treasury report that was produced. The INC gave a retrospective report over the past reporting time period. And I think it released 2 of those reports. And then the GMC also produced a nice treasury report for the last month here of August, excuse me. So you'll see those linked in the biweekly report. I encourage you, if you are a member of the PDAO, to go ahead and take a look at those. The GMC also now has open round 17 of the grants, bounties, and retrospectives. So if you're interested in building on Rocket Pool, they have an open call for grant applications, and I encourage anyone that is seeking to definitely apply and begin engaging with the community and the GMC about interest on that. But that round 17 is currently open. Next, we have integrations, and very excited to see this next one in there, which is out from NodeSet. Gravita announced that they are getting ready to, perhaps maybe they are already here, have the availability to produce XRETH. And XRETH is the liquid staking token that is going to be used to fund the nodes that are going to be operated by NodeSet operators. So if you're listening to this here for the first time and don't know what NodeSet is, I encourage you to do a little bit of research on that and take a look at it. But it's basically a way to start collecting collateral in this XRETH protocol to have investors get a liquid staking token that doesn't pay a node commission, but instead it helps fund the node collateral by NodeSet operators in exchange for some of the returns in there. So it looks like NodeSet and its Constellation product are finally coming to fruition here. So I know this is kind of a big announcement for that team, and I congratulate them, and it looks like they're getting very close to launching here.
Yeah, we'll need to get the NodeSet Gravatar teams on for a call. Actually, I see Nick is on the call. I have unmuted you if you had anything to say. I just saw your mic trigger.
Yeah, hey guys. Thanks, Ken. And we'd love to join a future call at some point. I apologize. I have a whining baby here with me, 3-week-old, so I'm gonna cut off. But thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely congratulations on the milestone here. It looks like you're getting really, really close here, and I'm certainly very excited about it. So yeah, I'd love to have you on a call here and celebrate the launch.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
And we better let Langers go as well. Now I can probably cover the rest of the biweekly. I think he's got some important dev things to look after.
Yeah, absolutely. Langers, feel free to drop off. It was a pleasure talking with you today.
Cheers, guys. Great to chat, Ken. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Yeah, Mav, it looks like it looks like we also have another rETH integration with a DeFi project here. One of them is a gamify project for Loot and Glory, and I guess another integration for it. Any comments on those, Mav?
Well, I can't say I know too much about how the whole gamify thing works, but it does seem that this project has included rETH as a kind of, I guess, a money inside their game. And I seem to recall there was someone from that game in the Discord a while ago, maybe a few months ago now. We may be reaching out to them to have a bit of a chat, but the DeFi protocol is arguably more interesting, even though it does seem to be a variation on a common theme, being yet another kind of token that's backed by various liquid staking tokens. Regardless, always good to see rETH kind of included in there from day one as one of the more established liquid staking tokens. Obviously, right now, with Rocket Pool, it's probably the node operator side that is more important for us to look at. But regardless, keeping rETH well integrated across the DeFi ecosystem is always good to see.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see with the launch of NodeSet if the pendulum swings, where right now we're node operator limited, to see if that swings again and we go back to be LST limited. In there, it seems to be with Rocket Pool, it always seems to be an extreme one side or the other here. But yeah, it'd be very interesting to see. But as you said, great to see that DeFi integrations here. That brings us then to the media and marketing side for it. And I saw there was a mention here about the discounted tickets for the staking summit in Bangkok. And I do recall seeing that there was an announcement that Rocket Pool is now an official sponsor of the staking summit. So, Mav, do things look good for Bangkok and DevCon?
Yeah, they are looking pretty good. Less than 2 months to go now. And I think I mentioned on the previous call that we've got flights and accommodation booked for the team, DevCon tickets, and obviously this staking summit sponsorship, which includes a small booth and a speaking opportunity. And if anyone is going to come along, there are quite significantly discounted tickets available for the staking summit. I think you have to, there's some process there. If you click through the link in the biweekly update, you can see how it works. Take a photo of your node or something. Essentially, it's for home stakers. I guess at this point, though, considering that Bangkok is quite far away for the average community member based in the Northern Hemisphere, you've probably already made a decision whether or not you're going. You've got flights or haven't. But yeah, if you are in Thailand before DevCon kicks off, there is that staking summit. Most, if not all, of the team will be there, and be a great opportunity to meet everyone and say hi in kind of a smaller, more focused environment. As I understand it, DevCon is pretty big and the team members may be spread out all over the place. There's probably a a couple of side events that we might attend. I'm not too sure. I've never been to a DevCon, but apparently it's more, ironically enough, centralized than your average crypto event with 101 side events all spread around the place. But yeah, if you haven't got a ticket, there's a discount. If you've already bought a ticket, I think in the past they may have been able to retroactively apply the discount. If so, let me know. I can see what I can do. But it'd be great to see as many people as possible in Thailand in a couple months.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And yeah, I think, DevCon is definitely one where, they'll try not to, and many protocols will be respectful not to have side events during the DevCon days. But there's a weekend, a few days, I think a Sunday and a Monday before, kind of in between the staking summit and DevCon. And I've seen a lot of side events starting to come up for there. I'll post them as I see them in the conferences channel. There's a sub thread in there called DevCon 2024, I think it is. So I'll post as many side events there. And I don't know, Mav, if the team's figured out what they're doing on that Sunday or Monday in between the staking summit and DevCon. But yeah, definitely at DevCon, it's going to be a really big venue, and we are going to want to disperse ourselves in as many corners of that building as possible to make certain we get as much. And it's probably a conference that's really for the devs, and so they really want to be in the venues and listening to the talks and engaging with the the core researchers and so forth. So I think community interaction is going to be hard in the main venue, but definitely the staking summit, and I'm hoping to see a rocket pool meetup sometime there in Bangkok.
Yeah, that Sunday, I think, in between is a free day, so that might be a good time to meet up with everyone and have a beer. We'll put out kind of a call for expressions of interest to attend that a little bit closer. At least with Bangkok, it shouldn't be hard to find a venue.
Yeah, perfect. I'm looking forward to it. The next item in the media and marketing is the Binance RPL futures listing, and I actually kind of missed this week. Mav, tell us a little bit about this, and how was the reception to the RPL futures? I did see one day the price spiked. I didn't know if that was related to this or not.
It is. Just give me a second. Just got to switch my headphones. Running out of battery here. We'll be right back.
It's usually Langers with the mic problem.
All right, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Cool. So this RPL futures thing came out of the blue, just like the original listing back in the day. And then there were a few other smaller exchanges that followed very closely behind, including BitGet. I've never really played around that much with centralized exchanges at all, let alone these perpetual futures, or perps as they're called. Essentially is a way for people to trade RPL more effectively than buying and selling the underlying asset. So it may be interesting for some people out there. Maybe there's some way to use it to hedge things. Again, yeah, definitely not an expert when it comes to trading, but there was a bit of content out on X. I think it was earlier in the year. There were a couple of accounts that were kind of keeping an eye on what Binance was doing, and they noticed that if you kind of ranked or looked at the top tokens by market cap, obviously there's perps for most of the big ones out there, and actually some of these accounts identified RPL as an asset that didn't have perps supported yet. So I guess in a way it was kind of a matter of time until Binance did that. As to the kind of lasting impact, I'm not so sure, but maybe an interesting option for some people out there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that does play out. And yeah, I'd love to. It'd be interesting. I don't know if you have any contacts in Binance or individuals that understand a little bit more about the perps and the futures market there to come in on one of these calls and kind of explain to us a little bit more about what unlocks having now a futures market for the RPL token provides or doesn't provide the protocol. That would be very interesting to learn.
Yeah, we do have a chat with Binance. It was mostly for the original listing back in the day. I don't know if they would consider coming on a call. I can always ask them. Actually, BitGet, one of the other exchanges that kind of followed along, might be open to it. I recall, I'm pretty sure it was BitGet or one of the other smaller exchanges back when we're
Yeah. Yeah, BitGet Global.
right. Yeah, back when there was that whole RPL listing hype, and there were a few integrations into exchanges in terms of rocket pool staking. We did do. I think we jumped on some community calls, or Langers may have done for these exchanges. So maybe we can reach out and reciprocate. But to your point, it was the trigger for the price action. At least I assume so. The timing aligned. I think trading was talking about the price movements for a little while before I spotted the announcement tweet and then posted it to trading. But yeah, don't know what's happened since then, whether the price has retraced or what. But yeah, interesting timing for them to add that perps listing.
Yeah, very, very interesting in there. On the next topic here, there were a couple of community calls. I had a chance to chat a little bit with Langers about the roadmap on Saturn. And previous to that, Jasper hosted a call with Blocks Route. And it's actually one I haven't gone back and listened, but I'm pretty excited. How was that call with Blocks Route?
Yeah, good call. As the or maybe we didn't mention it in the biweekly, but the purpose of the call was for Bloxroute to share and get a little bit of feedback on a paid service that they're proposing, essentially a kind of relay that would help to improve node operator performance. And there is, if you go back and look at the previous biweekly, there was a poll out on the DAO Governance Forum. The GMC were looking for feedback whether or not to fund this initiative. I think from memory, it didn't get resounding support. So depending on the kind of funding that the GMC has available, not too sure whether that is going ahead, but I don't think a decision has been made. So if that's something that interests you, have a look on the DAO Governance Forum. You can probably search for Bloxroute there, and it will come up.
Yeah, Dr. D, who sits on the GMC, just typed in trading, very tepid community response. So, definitely take a look at it, let us know. But I think that was the feedback the GMC was looking for, is just, is there an interest to this, or do we see it not as a problem needing a solution? So, but yeah, I definitely encourage you to listen to the call, and I'll do so myself. And if you have an opinion one way or the other, let us know. It's very helpful to those that serve on the GMC to have that input.
Actually, I just realized, clicking back into the DAO Governance Forum, I was in that thread sorting out permissions and unflagging a reply just before this call started. So it is right now, right at the top of the forum because of that reply. It's the Bloxroute validator gateway thread if you want to learn more. There's a bit of back and forth in there.
Oh, perfect. Excellent. Thanks, Mav. And then last but not least, in the biweekly here, there is a number of Twitter contents and posting from various different groups of Flat Money, Cake Pie, XYZ, Strike Finance, regarding rETH in there. I don't know, Mav, if you have any comments over those, but I also had a question for you, is when Rocket Pool Twitter account? What's the latest on that?
Rocketpool Twitter account. The latest is Dave resubmitted to the Twitter, I guess, support to try and see if anything could be done. Kind of one last attempt, and then I believe, at least my preference is, if no luck there, we will spin up a new account, and potentially we could take the opportunity to rename it to Rocketpool Labs or something similar, kind of following industry best practice. But it would be great to have that channel available, and in coordination with Farcaster, kind of get a bit more external comms going. And then for the other content, nothing kind of worth calling out specifically, other than it's good to see the various DeFi protocols that do support rETH putting out some content about it from time to time. Generally, the kind of opportunities or yields that are available with rETH. And then, I guess, perfect timing, we've just gone past the hour, and I think a lot of people, if they haven't dropped off the chit chat yet, they probably have mentally watching the US debate, which, to be honest, I kind of have a bit of morbid curiosity about as well. I want to tune in and see what's happening. Although there is stand-up, which I should probably join. Anyway, maybe we call it here, unless there was anything else. And we do have next week's community call listed as an event. So return of Ken. I think is that 3 in a row for you, Ken?
Yeah, it'll be 3 in a row.
All right. Well, we'll chat then.
Yeah. Excellent, everyone. Well, everyone have a great day. Enjoy the debate if you're interested. And the trading channel, there's a sub-thread called the debate thread that you can chat with the Rocketpool community and watch along. And Mav, you can still join the stand-up in the background.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks again, Ken. See you guys.
All right. Bye.